Hey YouTube, it's Shu. This past week, I guess it was last week really, was March 15 months on T, and I didn't really do a video because I don't really have a whole lot of updates to talk about. Like there's not really a lot of changes going, there's just more hair. So I decided, I saw Brandon do this a couple weeks ago, a month ago, whatever. He asked his girlfriend some questions, so I'm gonna ask my wife those same questions.
I guess when you first came out, I wasn't really surprised. I think it was something that I kind of knew, even though I hadn't really said it. So I wasn't really surprised. I think my initial reaction was realizing how little I knew about transgender stuff. I really came into this not knowing anything at all. So I think my initial reaction was to research and read and try and learn as much as I could. And then once you started transition, I think my reactions most often are were watching things change and, you know, seeing little things here and there, or seeing like hair pop up here or fat move from one place to another. And so really, I guess I'm not answering the question very well. I think my reaction as you have started and continue to transition is happiness. Like, I'm happy that you're happier, that you feel better, that you're more confident, that you're really getting to have the life that you've wanted to have. I don't think it's really been difficult per se. I was actually half watching, half listening to the Today Show this morning, and they had a trans woman on there with her partner, and they were both talking about how the transition doesn't have to be hard. I think especially when you love the person, it makes it so much easier. So for me, it hasn't been particularly difficult, because I love you and I want you to be happy. So the best things, I think, are the little moments where you realize something has changed, or you realize that someone who used to read you as female now reads you as male, or going out, you know, into the world and seeing you read as male, are, I think, some of the best moments for me. And I'm trying to think of worst things, or if I have any worst things.
Hangry.
Yeah, I would. Hangry's a good one. I think dealing with like some of the not so pleasant things that come along with transition, in terms of like increased appetite and snarkiness sometimes, because it can bring out your emotions a little bit more. But it hasn't been that bad, all things considered. I think the most difficult part, and if I'm answering another question, then, you know, feel free to stop me. But I guess one of the things, if I were putting it in a category, it'd be in the not as pleasant or in the worst category. And I talked about this on the Sweethearts channel a few weeks ago, that it's really weird for me to be read as straight, and so that's been a big transition point, is trying to be okay with people seeing me as straight, and just having to be okay with that. I was talking about this a few weeks ago, actually. I was at a conference for my old job, and we were talking about salient identities within the LGBT community. And one of the things that being with a trans person has really made me think about is prior to this, I didn't think a whole lot about my gender, at least not in any sort of constructive way or in any sort of formal way. And I think this has really caused me, like this process has really caused me to look at the way in which we construct gender in this world, and in what is acceptable for each gender and what are people supposed to do. And it has made me a lot more comfortable with pushing the gender, with kind of pushing back against the gender binary a little bit, in that none of us are 100% female or 100% male, that we're all kind of a mix, and we have moments where we are more one than the other. And so it's made me think, more than anything, I would say that this process has made me think more about gender and what gender means, and also what sort of privilege I get as a cisgendered person that that you don't get as a trans person. I read that question and I thought, well, I don't know if it does really.
It doesn't have to.
I think it impacts our relationship from the standpoint of, I think for any couple, and I'm pretty sure this is the last question, so I'll second to last question, but this point is in the last question that I'm about to make.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna do it, and you know,
can edit.
But I think it can be really easy to let the transition affect the relationship, especially when it comes to make the relationship not being all about transition. Because I think for a lot of folks, and especially for the trans partner in the partnership, the changes are exciting and new and different, and it's consuming that person's life in a lot of ways. And so I think we have to work pretty hard to make sure that it doesn't consume the entire relationship, and that that's not everything that we talk about. My first bit of advice would be communicate, talk to each other, and especially for the trans partner, share what's going on, share what you're feeling, share what you're experiencing, and don't write your cisgendered partner off. If your partner is cisgendered, don't write them off like, oh, well, you're cis and you can't understand this particular thing that's going on with me. So that would be my first thing, is definitely communicate. And I think if you can learn how to talk to each other, then that makes everything easier. It makes it easier when or if the trans person in the relationship is having an emotional day or struggling emotionally, or if you as the partner are struggling emotionally, it makes it easier to navigate some of the changes that might be happening in the bedroom if you're able to have a conversation about them, however awkward it may be. And it just makes it easier to keep the relationship in a good and healthy place, because I've seen so many relationships, not just in the LGBT community, but in the world in general, where the relationship fails because people don't talk to each other. In terms of resources, there are lots and lots of books out there, and lots of movies, and there is the trans couples group on Facebook. Also on Facebook there's the letter T Mates, which is a partners group for just the partner side of it, and FTM Sweethearts, which is also for partners of FTM folks. And I know for the trans part of the relationship, there are lots of FTM groups across Facebook as well, which I found to be more active than the Yahoo groups and things like that. But I will also have Stefan put a link in the description to a video I did for the Sweethearts group where I talked about resources and books and movies and all that stuff that I think can help. I think a lot of mine were about religion and LGBT stuff, but you know, just in terms of resources and helping folks to kind of think through all that stuff.
So I hope you all find this video helpful. It's been a couple weeks I've been trying to do it and just haven't had a chance to. We haven't been home together and had 15 minutes to do it. So yeah, I hope everyone finds it helpful. If you have any questions for myself or my wife, please leave them below. If they're for my wife, I will make sure she gets them and responds to them. And I feel like the underlying thing to helping a relationship last through transition is communication. And I tell people this all the time, but I'm going to say it again. Amber and I, we talk about everything. And it may not be like in the moment, so I may be thinking about something for 2 or 3 days and then we'll talk about it. But at some point within like a week of it coming into my brain, we talk about it. And the same thing with her. So it's just, communication is key to all relationships, whether they're straight relationships, trans relationships, gay relationships, whatever. It's key to everything. So yeah, hope everyone has a good week, month, whatever. I don't know when I'm making another video, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.